Every reptile that you keep needs a home within your home, an enclosure. And today, I'm gonna tell you the best enclosure at every size. This one might ruffle some feathers. I'm going to try to give you my honest opinion about every size enclosure, from the nano sub-gallon enclosures all the way to 1,500 gallon enclosures, and tell you which ones from my 20 years of experience are the best and which ones you should stay away from. Disclaimer, this video is sponsored by Chewy, but I will be recommending products that Chewy doesn't sell, and I'm still giving you my honest opinion. Category number one, sub 10 gallons. So we're talking about microhabitats for things like inverts or really small micro geckos as babies, things like that. These enclosures I recommend tarantula cribs. Thanks, Mo, for sending it, even though it was like a year ago and you have no idea I'd be making this video. Tarantula Cribs are a fantastic American-made company. They're out of Missouri. The guy who runs it, his name is Mo, an absolutely fantastic human being who now has a really cool reptile zoo as well. Well run, well made, the manufacturing is great, the products are fantastic, and if you're looking for something that's made of acrylic, this isn't the junk that's gonna scratch up or break or warp. This stuff is really, really good. So whether you have jumping spiders or tarantulas or scorpions, I actually use these products. He does not pay me to tell you that they're great. He doesn't sponsor me. He did send me a few and I use them. They're amazing. There are other options too, but I have personally not used the other options, so I can't recommend them. 10-gallon enclosures, this is pretty simple. There aren't a ton of options. There are more and more as we go on and more manufacturers start making them, but these are generally either fish tank size enclosures, but I recommend front opening enclosures, especially the more vertical ones. And these are something like 12 by 12 by 18 tall, something like that in inches. And for these, I recommend Exoterra and Zilla. They're both similar products. I would say they're comparable in their build quality. I am not sponsored by Exoterra. I am in fact the only Canadian influencer who has never been sponsored by Exoterra, but I still recommend this. I get them mostly secondhand, but the Zilla ones, they're great too. Generally, all you're looking for is something that is escape proof and the door hinges don't break, and these work. The ventilation is good, the glass structure is good. I've only had one ever break because it literally fell on a concrete floor and it didn't shatter. A little piece of it broke and that was it. The next one, we're talking about 20 gallons, and keep in mind here, I'm rounding. So one of these might be, 19 gallons or something. I'm rounding, I'm getting close as I possibly can. There's a few options here. If we're talking about true 20s, the same vertical, so a little bit bigger, these I recommend the same thing. Exoterra, Zilla makes some, Zoomed makes some. I've tried all three. The Exoterras are generally the ones that I use because they're really easy to find secondhand. Especially with entry-level reptiles, people get in and out of the hobby all the time. So generally, the smaller the enclosure, 10, 20, 40 gallons, they're really easy to find secondhand. And if we're talking about a 15-gallon, New Age Pet offers one that's really great if you're for, really small type of geckos, maybe like dune geckos or binos geckos, something like that, or even pictus geckos, which I just got some of. I'm really excited about these. So there's some really great options in there, but your options are still really limited for species at this size. The next size, we're talking about 40-gallon or 50-gallon. And I always recommend front opening enclosures. That's the ones I'm talking about. There are fish tanks out there that you can use, but a front opening is just so much easier. It's better for the animal. They don't feel like there's predation from up top. It's more convenient for you to go inside of. You don't have to move all the lights and everything. So what we're talking about here is the footprint is 3 feet long by 18 inches. And then the height can be a foot or a foot and a half or 2 feet. You're adding gallons, what you do there, but generally it's a lot of the same species you can keep. So for example, I like to keep leopard geckos in these enclosures, which are 40 or 50 gallons, depending on the height. Even a 1 foot tall, 3 foot by 18 inch is perfect. Exoterra is really good at making these. I've seen these done really well with Reptile Zoo as well. I've tried one once. I don't actually have the enclosure, but I've been to a facility that used them and they were great. They slide great, really fantastic. They open and close great. They're not sticky. You don't have that whole the sand gets in it and that doesn't happen with the Repti Zoo. And same thing with Exoterra. Again, I got a ton of secondhand enclosures a long time ago, like 4 years ago. I made this video right here. So I basically bought a mini zoo and I'm still using a lot of those enclosures today. 120 gallon. I'm gonna give you two different styles, let's say. Longer ones, so the 4x2x2 where it's 4 feet wide, and the 4x2x2 where it's 4 feet tall, because it depends on what species you're gonna be keeping. For the longer variant, this is something that you'd keep ball pythons, corn snakes, even leopard geckos. Some people keep them this big. You don't have to, but a lot of people do, which I like. Also, I love filming down here at night. I can hear the tree frogs. Anyway, bearded dragons, you know, there's a bunch of different reptiles you'd keep in an enclosure this size, collared lizards, for example. And with this, I recommend New Age Pet. Now, this is probably the biggest and most competitive category. Everybody sells a 4x2x2 because it's an industry standard for so many reptiles. And a lot of companies are doing it really, really well. There's brands out there like Cages, which is American made and truly top of the line in terms of quality. I've got a few of those. I love them. I've had them. I think they started sending me them in 2020. So we're 6 years and they are just as nice as the day that I got them. No warping, no splitting, no cracking, just fantastic. The things that I've been trying recently that I really like are the New Age Pet enclosures. New Age Pet is kind of like a hybrid between like wood and plastic together. It's really Trex decking is what it is. So you could power wash this stuff and it'd be totally fine. Screen on the top, which I do like because it gives full space. So you put the lights on the top and they sell a stacker if you want, so you can stack two. These work really well. They're really well built and you can fit so many different reptiles in them. Plus, because they are a PVC-like material, it's easy to seal the sides. Now, I will say there's a few more budget brands, because this is truly a budget price, but a really high-end product. All of the other ones that I've tried in 120 gallons that are the same price or slightly cheaper, they feel like they should be a quarter of the, like they're a quarter of the product. They truly are not as nice. So there are lots and lots of brands, but I'm telling you, for the price of what they are, they're like 250 bucks on Chewy right now. It's kind of a steal. Like, buy them. There's no way they can keep them at this price. It's kind of insane. They're that cheap. But for taller enclosures, for things like chameleons or other animals that need more of an airflow, Repti Breeze is a fantastic option as well. Now, disclaimer, not every chameleon needs or should even have a fully screened enclosure. If you have your chameleon or any animal in a room that's 70 degrees, a screen enclosure is a terrible option because it's not going to keep any humidity or heat at all. But there is a time and a place, and for anything that does need a screen enclosure, especially if you're using a reptile room where the ambient temperature is kind of where you need it to be, they're fantastic. Plus, they're lightweight and really easy to move. If you're looking for a 4x2x2 screen enclosure, we're giving you 25% off Repti Breeze XL on Chewy right now when you buy the ZoomEd Tropical UVB and Heat Lighting Kit, which is perfect for chameleons, anoles, and so many other species. Thanks, Chewy, for sponsoring today's video. 150 gallon, this is a weird one because it's 5 feet long and not too many people make them. Cages makes one that's really, really great. New Age Pet is another one that really makes a good one as well. Now, keep in mind, Cages made in the United States. So if that means anything to you, Cages is kind of the only place that does that, and they do it really, really well. Fantastic products. The New Age Pet, I have a 5-foot one. It's great. I love how it has kind of like a latch door on the top, so it's really easy to feed, or you put your water bowl under there and you just undo the latch and dump it in. Glass slides perfectly. They sell a matching stand for it, bunch of different colors. In my opinion, 5 foot is kind of a weird one. If you want something a little bit bigger for something like a small boa or even ball pythons, if you want to give a big ball python 5 feet of space, I like to do that. 5-foot enclosures are awesome. 150 gallon New Age Pet Cages, they're both great. 180 gallons, same thing. 6 feet long Cages definitely wins this one. I've heard of other brands doing it really well. Toad Ranch, for example, I've heard nothing but great things, but I've never actually used one, so I couldn't tell you from my own personal experience. I have used Cages though, so if you want to buy one of those, they're fantastic, they're great, and just quality craftsmanship. And one of the brands where the longer the enclosure gets, that still has the structural integrity. Some brands that make 4-foot enclosures, they go make a 6-foot one and it becomes flimsy because they don't account for, well, lots of more space. Cages doesn't have this problem. 240 gallons, so this is a 4-foot by 4-foot enclosure that is still 2 feet wide. This is really popular now, and a lot of people use them for maybe bigger arboreal animals, big chameleons, Parsons chameleons, although probably a bigger enclosure would be better. Carpet pythons, if you have a smaller carpet pythons, even smaller frill dragons. People like to do a bearded dragon in these now, being that bearded dragons love to be off the ground, especially if you have a younger one. Keep in mind, Diamond is like over 10 years old, so he's, you know, he's older. People have been commenting that he seems like he doesn't move. He's just old. For this, there's a few. So I will mention Zen Habitats. I feel so bad mentioning that I don't really like the product. However, if you like buying from quality people, like I don't remember if it was when my wife got pregnant or we got engaged, they literally sent us a gift basket. They don't sponsor me and I don't promote their products. And in fact, I tell the internet that I don't really like their product that much in comparison to, and they still sent me a freaking gift basket just to like say congratulations. So maybe the nicest people on the planet. And it does work. They do get the job done, okay? Zen Habitats, and there's some other ones that are like budgety that kind of work. But Zen Habitats, I do have one literally for sale. So if you see an ad that's selling one in the Southern Ontario region, it's me. I'm trying to sell mine. They're just too flimsy for me, and especially the Meridian one. The latches in the middle come apart, and I had to snake it loose because of that, because it actually failed. Cages makes really good ones. I know I'm like talking Cages up. They're not sponsoring today's episode, but they're great, and I just want to give you guys the best information. So Cages, again, wins this one. I would love for New Age Pet to make one of these. Every time I see them at an expo, I always mention this because I think that is going to be the next big size. 4x2x2 is standard now. I really do think 4x4x2 is going to be standard very, very soon because there are so many reptiles that benefit from that extra 2 feet of height. And it takes the same floor space, so why not? I even kept monkey tail skinks at one point. But again, acrylic doors, don't use acrylic doors with anything that has nails. It'll destroy it. Next, really weird one, 360 gallon enclosures. As you see all my lights going off because I'm filming this late at night. But those right there, I actually made those. So I'm not selling any though. I'm not making any for you. I just want to brag that I make really good 360 gallon enclosures. These are 6 feet tall and they're 4 feet wide and 2 feet deep. I know Cages makes these as well. Cages, they're custom. So I haven't tried one yet, but I do plan to order some. So I imagine they'll be just as good. But going up to the next size, which is a 4 foot cube. So 480 gallons, I believe, or around there. So 468 gallons, I think it is. Let's call it 480. I use these for a few species. Emerald tree boas, I've got a pair in a 4x4 cube type thing. And I've got some Fiji banded iguanas in one of them as well. And it's a mansion for these animals. They've got so much room to run around. It is truly a pleasure to watch. I love this size enclosure. The problem is it takes a ton of space. A 4x4 cube takes a lot more space. But if you have bigger animals that need it, carpet pythons would love this type of enclosure. Think super dwarf reticulated pythons, things like that. This is the cat's pajamas. And in terms of who makes them, as a Canadian, I know you guys get so upset that I don't talk about Canadian products because like only 6% of my audience is Canadian, but if you are, this is for you. Cornell's World is where I bought mine. Really, I bought an 8-foot enclosure, but all they do is they put their 4-foot cubes, like send you 2 of them, and then you bolt them together, kind of with an opening in the middle. Also, to be clear, Cornell's World has never paid me a dime. I paid full price. I paid a lot of money for it to be shipped during COVID. And the reason that I bought it from Cornell's World is because it was during COVID and I couldn't get across the border, where Cages does free shipping within the US. So what I probably would have done if the border was open to cross is I would have just shipped it to a warehouse in Buffalo and then went and got it, brought it back. But I have seen the Cages enclosures that are 8 feet. So the 2-foot ones, I actually own one of those. I knew we kind of skipped over that. So if you're looking for an 8-foot cage that's 2 feet wide, I have a Cages one and it's freaking awesome. Like no warping at all. It's literally on the bottom of a stack. There's 4 enclosures on top of it, no warping. Glass still slides great. And the same thing with the 4-foot cubes that they make and the 8-foot by 4 foots too, which we're gonna get to. So yeah, Cages, like, you're welcome. Also, to be clear, I really like the Cornell's World enclosures, just I don't know if they ship to the US and shipping is rather expensive, but if you're in Canada, it's a solid product at this size. So those are your 1,000-gallon enclosures, or roughly around that, where they're gonna be 4 feet tall, 8 feet wide, and 4 feet deep. This is great for things like Burmese pythons, certain kind of smaller reticulated pythons. If you get a 20-foot retic, obviously you'll need to go bigger. But I think Cages does make, I promise you they're not paying me. I promise you, just they're great. They do make up to 16-foot long enclosures, so that would be something better for a really long snake, but I've never tried one, so we're not going that big today. This is really, you know, like the men separated from the boys or whatever the saying is, because the enclosure companies that make really big enclosures but don't specialize in it, you get sagging and warping and the doors don't close all of a sudden and animal, like it's just bad. That's why I recommend cages, and trust me, I know the price tag is kind of up there for an enclosure this big, but you could make one too. Now, obviously, I'm trying to give you the recommendation for where to buy, but anything that's really big or weird and you don't want to buy and pay a bunch of money because it can be expensive, I just make out of plywood. And there's a video right here on how I did that and how I waterproofed it and the whole thing. It's also my very favorite video that I've ever made, and I'm kind of disappointed that nobody watched it. So please hit like and share it maybe. And our last one, 1,500 gallon enclosures. This one's kind of weird. It's 6 feet tall and 8 feet long and 4 foot wide. And the reason that I think this is going to be more popular is because people are going to realize that the reticulated python, even if it's a super dwarf, is going to like to be up high. I had super dwarf reticulated pythons in an enclosure like this, and they loved it. It was fun to watch. The reason that I switched them out of it and I just moved a different animal in there is because I wanted it to be planted. This is mine. I call it Corintinia. It's kind of like the area in between two, anyway, it's a river. It separates two countries. And there you find tree frogs and dart frogs and emerald tree boas, and that's what I have in there. I wanted an ecosystem, and this is perfect. Now, in terms of where to recommend, the only company I know that would make something like this for you is Cages. However, I have never tried an enclosure this big from them before. If they want to send me one, Cages, I'll happily set that up and do a video. The only one that I've tried before was Custom Reptile Habitats, and unfortunately that company no longer exists. So I can't really recommend you a product based on my personal experience because the only one that I have, they don't exist. However, it's too bad because this enclosure is solid, rock solid. For an enclosure that big, it's kind of crazy how solid it actually is. The only thing that I am going to have an issue with is it is an acrylic doors, which kind of has to be. Glass this big would be so heavy, it's not really possible. So it is acrylic, and I do plan on putting monitors in there when I switch everything around, so we'll see how that goes. I'll have to learn how to buff out scratches in acrylic. Anyway, those are all the sizes and the very best that I've seen and I've tried personally, but let me know in the comment section below which ones that you really like, because there's products I haven't tried and you have, and I want everybody reading the comment section, and you can get good recommendations from other people who have more experience than me.